Welcome, everyone. We're calling the Town of Selma Board of Adjustment meeting to order. It is 6 o'clock on May 15th, 2025. We're meeting at the Selma Jernigan Building. Now we'll have our roll call. We have Mark Peterson.
Present.
We have Sarah McAllister.
Present.
Jennifer Edwards, present. Angela Thomas.
Present.
Tony Stewart. Lewis. I want him to be a steward.
Here.
I don't know why.
NASCAR.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes, ma'am.
I apologize. I want you to change your name. Before we get started, even though we don't have a huge audience tonight, I would like to state again the purpose of our board. As I've stated in past meetings, this is a quasi-judicial hearing, and we are an impartial volunteer board. Decisions are made on the property in question, and they're not based on personal hardship. The first case, and the only case we're going to hear tonight, is a variance. We evaluate the credibility of the witnesses, review the evidence, and apply these standards to the four findings of fact. We must follow certain rules and procedures, and this must be done in an orderly fashion. Once the public hearing is open, the town will present, and then our board will ask questions, and then the applicant will present. Once it's closed, there's no further comments to be made. Only the witnesses with a direct bearing on the case will be sworn in and heard. Any further comments could result in denial or removal from the hearing. We don't allow any general audience comments unless it pertains to the case. This application can be approved with conditions, tabled, or denied. Any of the board members tonight have any reason to feel you should be recused from the vote tonight? No, ma'am. Okay, thank you. We can proceed. Next, number 2, we have the approval of the agenda. Do we have any changes, Dalton, to the agenda?
Yes, ma'am. I would like to ask that we include Ms. Edwards' application for reappointment for another term on the Board of Adjustment. If we can add that to the consent agenda.
Okay. Is that the only item?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the agenda with that one addition?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion is made to approve the agenda. We next have the consent agenda, and with that, Dalton brought it to my attention that my application for reappointment needs to be presented again tonight.
Yes, ma'am.
So that is, it becomes the board's decision first. You can make a motion to accept me or deny me, whichever you choose, and then it will go to the council if approved. So does anyone want to make a motion to that effect?
Motion to preview for another term on the Board of Adjustments.
Thank you. Motion made by Mark Peterson. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Angela Thomas. All in favor?
Aye.
So hopefully this will go to council, and then we'll go to the county commissioners for their approval.
Just for the record, Madam Chair, just for the purposes of the motion and the vote, let it be clear in the record that Chairman Edwards recused herself from actually voting on her own application.
Thank you. Okay, moving right along, we're now at our business items. What we have tonight is a variance request from Tony Barrow, the president of Barco Building Systems Incorporated of Snow Hill. It's variance request 2025-147-VAR-101 Oak Tree Drive. 2025-147, variance 101, Oak Tree Drive application. And then we will have the staff report and then the site plan. So at this point, we need to open a public hearing. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing regarding this case?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion is made to open the public hearing. First, the town will present. You will need to be sworn in, and anyone else we could swear in at the same time that's here to present with this case. You may come up and be sworn in. Please state your name and address as well when you finish, when you're ready to testify.
Taylor Graham, 84 Centerline Drive, Selma, North Carolina.
Tony Barrow, 597 Peter Grant Road in Snow Hill, North Carolina.
And I believe you'll be the only two gentlemen that offer testimony. If you would just raise your right hand and say the Bible. Do you swear any testimony or evidence that you would give the Board of Adjustment will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. Just swear on. Right at this time, you are under oath. Whatever you relate to the board will be under oath. Okay, we'll start with Sam. And you already know this, but just for the record, the four findings of fact, it is a variance. It does require the supermajority of 4/5. You've got the full quorum here, but you already know that. So I just wanted to put that in the record.
Thank you. Okay, you may proceed.
Greetings. I have a requested action for the Board of Adjustment to consider a variance. This is the applicant Tony Barrow of Barco Building System, Inc. of Snow Hill, as you've mentioned. It is 101 Oak Tree Drive. Property owner Tory LLC. And the size is about 5 acres. The current zoning is listed as I2 industrial. It is not historic, it is in the city, it is watershed, but minimal flood risk. So what we have here is they're trying to put an accessory building on the lot in the industrial zone. The applicant states the accessory building height requirement of 25 feet is too limiting for industrial storage of equipment, which right there is a Siemens Energy training area, and they're looking to build like transformers, and the storage equipment for the transformer building are of higher heights than the accessory building allows. And then the accessory building proposed remains consistent with the code's spirit by maintaining the smaller footprint of the primary building. It's going to be to the rear of the structure with appropriate setbacks. And as you can see in the code that I provided, it is the highlighted point on G, which says the maximum height of an accessory building shall not exceed 25 feet at any point, which the spirit of that is usually for residential districts, and you don't want multi-floor heights, and we're working towards approving a code that alters it as an exception for industrial uses. We had one approved by the planning board on April 28th, and we wanted to rework it and put it back in front of the board just a little bit after further consultation with other industrial areas. But staff believes that the variance is consistent with the goals and objectives of the land use plan and will be in harmony with the surrounding business. He anticipates he has site plans for a 31-foot height at the peak, and it's like 29 at the base height. So it's 29, and then it peaks to 31 and a half. We have a visual render of that if need be. I also asked that my staff report and supporting document be entered into evidence as testimony, if you have any questions.
Anyone have any questions? Okay.
I have a question. I was reading through this, and in one area, it says that it is for parts, storage of parts.
Mm-hmm.
Then on another, that's on page, page 4 of 9, it's for storage of parts. The other word is on page 2 of 9, it says equipment.
Mhm.
Now, parts and equipment, I mean, what equipment could mean like huge things,
Mm-hmm.
but parts, you don't think of huge, gigantic pieces of parts. So
Well-
what is it?
Well, it is industrial, so even if it's parts, it's gonna be large. That's why it needs a higher cap. And industrial zones I2, they when they're not by residential, which this property is in a industrial district, it has an unlimited height cap for the primary structure. but usually these primary structures don't always need that height cap, so the accessory buildings are a little higher for
Okay.
their, like, equipment, and I feel that,
Things like transformers can get
yeah.
very large,
Okay,
so. that,
Thank you.
I'm not sure if that's kind of equipment they'll have there, but electrical equipment like that.
And, the applicant could probably describe the equipment better than I can.
okay, thank you.
Quick one on the planning board was pending at the planning board.
Mhm.
If the board chose to allow the variance, are you aware of any inconsistency that the granting of this variance may have with the pending amendment that the planning board's considering?
The planning amendment, to the code will be consistent with this current height.
What's the status of that amendment?
We had one approved, but I wanted to reword it and put it before them again, just for their,
'Cause I think it was
For
something in
honesty
here that
purposes.
mentioned, April 25th or something.
it was 28th, yeah.
28th, okay.
Yeah, but rather than going and scheduling a hearing, I wanted to reword it and just,
Now,
So that's
is,
imminent.
is
yeah,
staff,
it's already on the planning agenda for the next planning board.
is staff thinking of making a finite number for
Mhm.
height requirement?
Yeah, we're
And does that
thinking
apply to all districts at
For
that
I-
point,
for industrial, it's
For
gonna stay
I-2.
25 feet for everyone else, but
but not for I-1?
for industrial districts, which
So
I want.
I-1 and 2,
Mhm.
okay. Any other questions for staff? At this point, do we need to enter into evidence, staff's presentation, or should we wait till after the applicant speaks?
Madam Chair, you can go ahead and receive it for the record.
Okay. Do I have a motion to enter into evidence staff's presentation regarding the variance?
So moved.
And that variance is at 101 Oak Tree Drive.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is made to accept the testimony into evidence. Thank you.
And the amendment is gonna be to the EDO is gonna be that such that the auxiliary buildings cannot be any taller than the main building.
Yes, we have that, but sometimes the accessory building the primary building is smaller, so we're setting a cap to 35 feet for accessory building or higher if the primary building's higher. But if the primary building's shorter, it's gonna be 35 feet as the cap.
This buildings would be 31.
31.
So the language would have to be changed.
Mm-hmm.
So
And that's
that-
why we're putting it before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Barrow?
I've got a rendering, I can lay it out, let you look at it. It'll help you. It's, elevation drawings. Build- The building's only 40 foot wide, it's 200 foot long, and at the eave, from the finished floor to the flat of the roof panel, at the eave is 29 foot 6 inches. That's the proposed building. And at the peak, it's got a 1/12 pitch, so 20 foot, it's gonna raise 20 inches, so that makes the peak from finished floor be 21 foot 2 inches. 31 foot 2 inches. This is what the front of the building would look like. It's got a 20 foot tall door in it, and it's 28 foot wide, and it's got two 16 to 16 doors over here. And, what they do, what they're doing, they're going out in the yard right now because their existing building is only 26 foot and 6 inches in the peak of their existing building. And they're putting these transformers together. These things are huge. And they've got to leave them put together about 6 months to test them to be sure they don't leak. And then when they don't leak and the time frame's gone, they disassemble them, load them, and ship them. And they've got these things, they're massive. Stop. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
You want me to leave this right here?
If you would, that would be great.
That'd be, these these transformers are massive. I got Taylor to meet me over at the site one day and look at them, because they're put together on the outside of the building, and they're taller than the existing building. That's why they're having to have this other building, so they can put the parts in. They're gonna store the parts, and they're gonna pull them right at the front of it, and right on the inside, put them together in that big door.
So you're using the term parts interchangeably with equipment.
Well, it takes parts
Well,
to
Ms.
put,
Ms. Thomas, you know, question earlier about, you know, one place it says parts, another place it says equipment. That,
it takes parts to put equipment together. And that's what they're having to do, is put this equipment together. But they're having to, they're needing this so they can put storage racks in the back of it, so they can stack all these parts up, so they can pull them out to the front, where they can put them together inside this building, right at the front door, inside the building. So they don't have to sit out in the yard, because right now they're sitting out in the yard. And they can't put them together in their existing facility, because it's only a 26-foot and 6-inch height in the peak of the building. It's not large enough.
you mentioned about putting them outside for 6 months to make sure there's no leak. What would they be leaking? You know,
Couldn't tell you,
PCBs or
sir.
anything in there?
I don't have no idea what goes in these things.
Not
It's-
PCBs though.
I wouldn't think it's, I don't know what. I'm not an engineer, I don't know what. I'm just going off of what the, gentleman that runs this facility tells me.
Would you maintain that the use of the term equipment and then parts? Would you think that it's also accurate to collectively say the inventory that's produced by this business? Is that more of a universal term for you?
Yes, sir. So when the parts come in, or the inventory that they make up these great big transformers with, that's what they're storing in the back of this building. It's gonna be a rack.
So whether it's equipment, parts, if this is approved, the applicant will be storing the inventory
Yes, sir.
in the facility.
Yes, sir. I probably didn't use the correct terminology.
Well, no, it's
Yes.
written, so you were stuck with it, and you didn't write it, so we're just putting something in the record, I think, to be more consistent.
And that's good. And then that, you know, the equipment that you're talking about becomes a part of a distribution system. So in and of itself, it is a part of that. So you know, the terms are interchangeable. And yes, it's a matter of semantics, but it really doesn't matter.
Right.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for your
Is this a
consideration.
copy they can retain, or do you need to
Y'all can
retrieve
have
that?
that one. I just ran that off. I plotted it off yesterday and marked it up for this meeting. This is for y'all's record. I can run me off another.
Thank you.
So at this,
Questions for staff? Any rebuttal, any questions from staff?
so at this time, we can ask that we have a motion to approve Mr. Barrett's testimony and the drawings that he presented to enter into evidence. Do I have such a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion is made to present the information as evidence. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, for your consideration.
Thank you, and I believe what I heard, there's no further evidence or testimony to be received by the board, correct? All right, I think, Madam Chair, at this time it'd be appropriate to close the
Okay.
quasi and proceed to deliberate.
Do I have a motion to close the quasi judicial hearing?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is made to close the hearing. Now we will go into our deliberations. Do we have any questions among ourselves, talk among ourselves? Concerns?
I want to make sure I'm clear on
Okay.
this. When it was talking about the, staff, may amend or change the zoning or the code or whatever.
Yes.
So if this were to get approved, is it like a condition? if
Well, this
that-
is why this is a variance, because it does not adhere to the current
Uh-huh,
ordinance.
right.
But if in the future the ordinance is amended, then there would be no need for variance for future considerations of this type,
I got you.
okay?
But for this one, since it hasn't been.
That's
approved
right.
yet,
Okay,
something need to be done.
okay, I see. Just wanna make sure I understood that.
This is, at this point, a request that has not previously been made, and he needs this in order to do his business, and so we would have to grant a variance for this particular one to be allowed to do. Are we ready to proceed to the findings of fact and vote on those as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Lewis, are you good?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now that I got your name right. Let's study the four findings of fact and vote on those. Number one, unnecessary hardship would result from the strict application of the ordinance. It shall not be necessary to demonstrate that in the absence of the variance, no reasonable use can be made of the property. So currently, he's saying he can't erect an accessory building to the height he's needed due to a conflict in the code. How do we feel about number one? Chip, how can we phrase that? I mean, we want to be sure we phrase it properly so
Yeah.
that we're in agreement. That's
It's
a real
always
vague.
It is.
It is. Yeah,
It's confusing.
the easiest way, Madam Chair, is to say, I make a motion that I agree with finding of fact one, second, and vote.
Okay, because
If you
that
disagree,
throws
that's
us every time.
Yes.
Okay, do we have a motion to agree with item number one?
So moved.
Second,
Okay, made by Mark Peterson, seconded by Angela Thomas. All in favor?
Aye.
Findings of fact number one is approved. Number two, the hardship results from conditions that are peculiar to the property, such as location, size, or topography. Hardships resulting from personal circumstances, as well as hardship resulting from conditions that are common to the neighborhood or to the general public, may not be the basis for granting a variance. So do we have a finding of fact? Do we have an agreement? We all agree on finding of fact number two, a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion for finding of fact number two is approved. The hardship did not result from actions taken by the applicant or the property owner. The act of purchasing property with knowledge that circumstances exist that may justify the granting of a variance shall not be regarded as a self-created hardship. Are we in agreement with finding of fact number three? Do I have a motion to approve finding of fact number three or disapprove?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
second. We
Mark-
said it at the same
Okay,
time.
we'll give
You get to
Mark
pick them.
the first and Angela the second. All in favor?
Aye.
So we are approving item number three, a finding of facts. Finding of fact number four, the requested variance is consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the ordinance and such that public safety is secured and substantial justice is achieved. Do I have a motion to approve finding of fact number four or disapprove as you choose?
A motion to approve finding of fact 4.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Motion was made by Sarah McAllister, seconded by Mark Peterson. Item number four is approved. So at that point, all of the findings of fact have been met. So do I need a motion to approve all findings of fact and accept the variance, as presented?
So moved.
Do we have a second? All in favor? Aye. Motion made by Mark Peterson, seconded by Sarah McAllister. And it is now approved, so the variance is granted. So the town staff will consult with you, regarding any further information, sir. And we thank you for being here.
Thank you for taking your time to come tonight. I know it's not easy to come, but thank you for hearing this, because this was really gonna make a big difference for this company. It's about a $700,000 investment they're making, and the town of Selman will reap some tax benefits off of it. Thank you.
Thank you. We
Thank you, sir.
appreciate you bringing it to our attention.
His notebook of yours.
There is no closed session. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.